So when it comes to items for Kha'Zix in Season 11, there are a few options to choose from, and they're all pretty amazing, to be honest. If you're struggling with wondering what to build on our bug this season, then don't worry. No need to panic. I'm going to go through all of the items which are good on Kha'Zix and explain when you should take them in each scenario. So let's get started. We're going to start with the most obvious, your mythic items. Now this is probably your most common question I've seen asked this season, aside from what runes to run. And the answer to what mythic item you should run is that it really doesn't matter all that much. All of the items are actually really good in many scenarios, and half of your mythic item choice is just based off of what you enjoy and what kind of playstyle you like. That being said, certain items are good in certain scenarios, so let me go over each of them. We'll start with Eclipse. So this item is awesome. There are just so many things that are good about this item, it's insane. The Omnivamp is very, very valuable, and it pairs well with Ravenous Hunter and other Omnivamp items like Hydra and Sanguine Blade. This item exists to make you a duelist. It's really reliable and easy to use. You just hit someone and it procs, very simple. You get that shield, and it's very good against bruisers and fighters, even against tanks. It's your best option for tanks, since it has an armor penetration mythic passive as well. And yeah, it's amazing for high base armor champs. It's just fantastic. I can use this item with my eyes closed. It's that simple, and it's really forgiving because of the Omnivamp, the free shield, and the move speed on it. You can afford to make mistakes in fights and you'll get away with them just because of the Omnivamp and shield, which will help keep you alive. So in my opinion, it's probably the best item choice for beginner Kha'Zix players, or those who just like the pseudo bruiser playstyle, or you just like dueling and 1v1s in general. It's fantastic, reliable, and you can go a long way with it in your games. So next, I'm gonna buy the what do you call it? Prowler's Claw. Right. So on paper, this item is really good. It's insanely good. But then you try it in game, and it's like, ew, this item feels really weird. I mean, to some people, the item feels really weird. I am personally not, like, I'm okay with it. But yeah, the active dash, it kind of feels a little clunky to use on Kha'Zix, and integrating it into your combo can take some getting used to. But this item by far deals the most damage to a single target. By far. It's insanely good for assassinating. I mean, this is the item's entire purpose. The item is just built to kill one target. The dash enhances your damage, so you're literally just going to one-shot any squishy enemy that you dash on. It's very strong. On top of that, the dash lets you counter other Season 11 builds in the game. So, for example, you can literally just brute force your way through ADC's Immortal Shield Bow shields, and you can also follow other dashes, literally just because in this season, a lot of ADCs are building Gale Force, and a lot of mages have Phase Rush, so it's very good at catching up to those gap closes, or those escapes. And yeah, it pretty much guarantees that you kill your target so long as you use your leap and Prowler's dash right. On top of this, you're getting a mythic passive that gives you lethality, so you're going to be dealing the most damage out of all the mythic item choices. I would definitely recommend this item to those who just straight up one-shot people, those who like one-shotting people and killing important enemies in the game, like mages or ADCs. It's going to go a long way for you in that regard, in regards to just killing one target mercilessly. So this is my last mythic that I'm going to go over, Duskblade. Alright, this is my favorite item. This is my favorite mythic item. Duskblade is just awesome. So the invisibility passive can take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do get used to it, you can just go wild in team fights and multi-kill scenarios. So this item is made for multi-kills and, you know, just killing more than one person. The Duskblade damage passive resets every time you get a kill. So you can use that damage to pretty much go invisible, you know, kill one person, go invisible again, reset with your wings, and just do more damage to another target. I think if I were to recommend one standard item on Kha'Zix, it would be Duskblade. For sure, this item is great. It also gives you an ability haste mythic passive, and this is just invaluable. Ability haste is extremely useful on Kha'Zix, and it makes everything you do with him so much more efficient. Kha'Zix can use this pretty well, you know, you can chain your Void Assault invisibility with the Duskblade invisibility, so you can go invisible for about 2.75 seconds, or if you have R-Evolve, you can go invisible for about 3.5 seconds, which is just kind of ridiculous. Just make sure that you don't overlap the Duskblade invis with your ultimate, because that just wastes your ultimate. And yeah, it really takes practice to make sure you use all the invisibility resources correctly. It's something that I'm still getting used to, but if you master this item, you just become insanely oppressive and annoying to play against. So that's pretty much it. To summarize the mythic items, it just is kind of just based on what you like, what kind of playstyle you like. You know, you can go for the Eclipse if you like dueling, Prowlers if you like just straight up assassinating, single target burst, you know, kill one important enemy. And for Duskblade, this is the item you want to go if you just want to shit on people. If you want to just multi-kill, you know, jump everywhere, reset with your invisibility, it's your multi-kill, team fighting, playmaking, flashy item. And that's what I like, so yeah. Alright, I'm going to go into the legendary items next. Alright, here we are with the legendary items. So there's a lot that Kha'Zix can actually use, and I'm going to go over them now. So one of the best legendary items in the game for Kha'Zix right now is Umbral Glaive. Umbral Glaive is cheap, it's reliable, and it gives you all the stats you need as Kha'Zix. You get ability haste, lethality, AD, all that good stuff, and it's a game changer because of its passive. So before you could easily control vision and assassinate because of the Duskblade passive, but now since Duskblade has been changed, you don't have that anymore. So Umbral Glaive does a fantastic job at making sure you're controlling vision around the area so that you can go for assassinations more reliably. In my opinion, this item is pretty much core in the majority of your games, and I tend to build it straight after my mythic item, or even first if I don't have much gold or just don't want to choose my mythic item yet. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you build this almost every game after your mythic item. Next up, Youmuu's Ghostblade. This is your classic standard assassination item. It's just nice and well-rounded for killing people. You have a lot of lethality on it, and the move speed passive and active is fantastic for just getting around the map fast and assassinating. Just a very standard item that isn't complicated at all, but it will provide you with the greatest assassination power out of pretty much all the legendary items in most situations. If I'm going to get this item, I'll buy it after Umbral Glaive, pretty much, you know, 4th item after boots, if I need more assassination power, and that's pretty much it. So next up, Black Cleaver. Incredible item for Kha'Zix, always has been. You get a lot of HP, ability haste, and the passive is just awesome for cleaving down bruisers and tanks. This item pretty much just turns Kha'Zix into a bruiser type champion. It helps Kha'Zix widen his damage pool and lets him deal with champions that aren't squishy, so, you know, bruisers and tanks. It is the best item for killing bruisers and tank type enemies, so I'll buy this item after Umbral Glaive if I need to do just that. Yeah, pretty much just these last 3 item slots are basically just situational, because I do recommend Umbral Glaive being pretty much core in all your games, and then you go for boots and obviously your mythic item. So next, Serylda's Grudge. So this is your standard armor penetration item, right? You buy this item if you want to fuck off AFK, man. Alright, you buy this item if you want to penetrate through armor that your enemies are buying. Pretty simple. Because of this, it's going to be core in a lot of your games, and you should at the very least make sure that you're getting the Last Whisper component as your 3rd/4th item, or 4th or 5th item, to counter the increase in base armor through leveling up and other armor sources. So keep in mind, this is more oriented towards bursting down targets that have armor, compared to Cleaver, which focuses on shredding them down gradually through DPS. I tend to build this after my mythic item and Umbral Glaive, which will give me a good amount of lethality in combination with the armor pen, and that's going to let me not have to worry about armor throughout the game. You might be noticing a trend here, right? Pretty much all these legendary items are being built after your mythic item and Umbral Glaive. So this is because I consider your mythic and Umbral to be core. These 2 items, core. yeah, they give you everything you need as Car, and they set you up to build situationally. So yeah, next item, Edge of Night. Pretty self-explanatory. You buy it after your Mythic and Umbral if you want more safety when engaging fights. That's about it. It's just another lethality item aside from that, but it's very good in a lot of dangerous scenarios. Chempunk Chainsword, basically your anti-healing item. Since it doesn't have lethality, I would only get it when you absolutely have to, against champions like Vladimir, Soraka, Aatrox, etc. Otherwise, just let your team buy anti-healing instead, and go straight into a lethality item. I definitely recommend that instead. Sanguine Blade. Oh man, this item is just insane for solo play. You get your standard lethality buff, and on top of that, you get Physical Vamp, which lets you heal more off of your abilities, but that's not all. You get attack speed when you're alone or 1v1ing, and this attack speed lets you combo faster, split push faster, do everything just faster, man. So yeah, it's a great item. It feels and is amazing to use, and I wouldn't prioritize it over your Mythic, Umbral or even Last Whisper, honestly. It feels great, but in my opinion, you need to already be strong to get the full use out of it. So I recommend getting it later into your build, just because you should prioritize getting yourself the other situational items first. So for example, you would like maybe go for a Ghost Blade, and then, you know, Serylda's Grudge, and then you go into Sanguine Blade, or you go into just Serylda's Grudge first and then Sanguine. That's a good combination too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you think you're strong though, then just definitely go straight into that, man. It's a great combination with your Mythic and Umbral. The item is just insane, so buy it when you can, but don't prioritize it over other items. Get your situational stuff first. And yeah, that's about it. Alright, next, Ravenous Hydra. So this is basically a Sanguine Blade without the attack speed and lethality, but instead you have ability haste and an AoE clearing passive. So very solid item, but I'm struggling to see why you would take it over Sanguine Blade or over any lethality item in general if you want damage. Sanguine Blade can pretty much just do the same thing this item does, but better. Fuck you, AFK warning. Although Ravenous has ability haste, that's the one thing it does have. I think the benefits for Sanguine far outweigh the benefits of Hydra though, but hey, some of you might like this item. In fact, I really like it, but I just wouldn't replace any lethality item for it. Unless you're going some sort of hyper sustain Omnivamp physical vamp build, then I probably would stay away from this item. Next, Serpent's Fang. I feel like this item is just counterintuitive, but nevertheless, its purpose is to counter shield enemies. If there's a Lulu, or some shielding support like Ivern or Karma, then this can definitely be a good choice for assassinating. It has above average lethality and you'll do a lot of damage with it, but I just can't really justify jumping in against shielded enemies, man. If it's a bit strange, like you don't want to jump in when the enemy is shielded and hit the shield. And I'm struggling to find a place for it in my games. It's just a really situational niche item, and I feel that other items simply overpower it. Okay, last two legendary items, Maw of Malmortius and Death's Dance. So Maw is basically just for when you're struggling against AP enemies. I wouldn't really recommend this in many of your games, because if you play your games right as Assassin Kha'Zix, you won't need defensive items unless you're playing maybe like Bruiser playstyle. Then it's not so bad, but I would much rather have a lethality item to maximize my damage, rather than play it safe and miss out on free damage just for some defensive options. Death's Dance is pretty much the AD version of Maw at this point. You can buy it if you're struggling against AD threats, but again, for the same reason as Maw of Malmortius, I can't really recommend this item unless you're running a Bruiser build. Half of the time, if you get CC'd or caught out in a bad position, you're dead regardless. And buying defensive options just limits your ability as an assassin. It helps you survive in scenarios where you would most likely die, but if you want to improve at Car as best as possible, you should know as an assassin what fights you can take and what fights will get you killed. When you make a mistake and you survive because of your defensive Maw or Death's Dance, the game is basically forgiving you for messing up. I mean, that's just how I see it anyway. They are solid items in general, and they do have their purposes, but I personally don't buy them just because I prefer damage options. Now, Here are the items I don't recommend at all and I think are just trash. Collector, overrated as fuck. Please don't buy this item. You don't need crit on an assassin, and the execute is pretty much just a massive gimmick. The build path is also trash as well. It might help you in the slightest of situations, but otherwise, nope. Please buy other lethality items instead. Sterak's. I mean, it's good if you're Bruiser, but even then, please buy damage items. Manamune. Why are you trying to buy an item that only becomes effective 20 minutes later? Please buy your lethality items and snowball the game into a win before you fall off. Thank you very much. Guardian Angel. Stop being a bitch and just don't die. Please, learn to not die without a Guardian Angel. You really don't need this item. You do not need this item whatsoever. Silvermere Dawn. I don't know, I just felt like I would add this one in just because. Don't get hit by CC and you'll be fine. That's basically it. You don't need this item either. Go for damage options and your situational, you know, your situational legendary items. Go for this Serylda's Grudge. Go for the Black Cleaver. Go for the Edge of Night if you need safety to go in. Like, it's just that simple. If you really need a defensive item, more Marmortius or Death Stance at the very least. Otherwise, don't go anything else. And yeah, that is gonna be it for my little itemization guide. I hope you guys enjoyed, maybe learnt something. I'm hoping this makes your life easier in terms of knowing how to itemize on Kha'Zix in this new meta. So yeah, definitely let me know if this helped you in the comments below. Like the video, all that good stuff. You know, liking helps a lot. But yeah, thank you guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Catch you later.